Well, hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. So today we're going to take a look at how to change the belts on a Hitachi TRK-8190E. And when I say change the belt, I don't mean one belt or even two. In fact, there are 5 of them here in this kit, so that's going to keep us out of trouble for a little while. So I think first up I'll give you a little bit of a backstory on this particular unit. So I already had one of these that I picked up as part of a consignment a little while ago, and it was inoperative, problems with the radio, I think problems with the cassette deck, all sorts of stuff, but it is in beautiful condition externally. And this particular one here I picked up privately afterwards as a unit for myself. It had apparently already been serviced, it had belt changes and all that kind of thing. And I thought, yep, it's a great looking unit. I do love these, and it'd be nice just to have one for my own collection. Anyway, long story short, I've been going through some of my stuff lately and refurbishing some of the old boomboxes and making a bit of space and selling a few on. And I thought, to be honest, I might as well just repair my own at some point, featuring it on this channel, and resell on this one that I'd bought that had been serviced. Anyway, a lovely customer of mine was looking to have this particular one. And it transpired though that the auto stop doesn't work on it, and actually before I went to actually sell it, I did notice that the tape speed wasn't quite right, so I did take it apart originally and adjust the motor speed, and that seemed to solve that issue. But as I say, the auto stop didn't work on it, and I noticed that someone had actually put an elastic band on the pulley there inside, and so much for the professional belt change that it was supposed to have had. It looks like it'd been bodged a bit. So anyway, I put a new belt on there and just had a cursory look at one of the other ones that was visible, and it seemed like the others were okay. So it was playing all right, and that was that. But as I say, turns out the auto stop didn't work, and it's quite a common failure on these actually. It was actually not even working on my other one. So what I've done is I've gone away now and serviced my other one already and changed all 5 belts on that one and serviced the tape deck, and everything's working beautifully on it. But there are still some issues with the radio. And my original customer for this one actually saw my other version of this and actually found that because it was in such nicer condition, he'd rather have that one. So the plan basically for me is to service the tape deck on this one, and the radio on this is beautiful as well, by the way. So if I can change the belts on this, service the mech, fix the auto stop, I'll probably just take the entire innards of this one and put it in the new chassis for the other one, and then I'll go back at some point and repair that one in my own time. Now, if I can't get this to work properly today, what I have to do is replace the other mechanism from the tape on the other unit, put that into this board and circuitry, and then take the whole chassis out of here and kind of chassis it, as it were, recase the other one. So it's all a bit complicated. So anyway, enough of this talking. Basically today though, what I wanted to do was just show you how to get it open, how to access the belts in case you want to do a belt change on one of these Hitachi units. They're quite complicated, but it's not too bad once you've kind of got the hang of it. So let's get on now and see how we get on. Okay, so for the first stage then, all we need is a pot, and we're going to take all the knobs and switches and stuff off. So we'll just work our way around from one side to the other, and we want to gently remove all of the knobs, all of the switches, and just be careful as you go. Take your time. And if any are a bit stubborn, just gently work your way around. That's it. And then you just put those knobs and switches to one side, and that's the first stage done. Okay, the next stage then is to actually get the thing onto its front, because we want to take the back screws off. And I always put a bit of foam down underneath just to protect the unit when it's on its face. and then we'll remove the screws There's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, none in the battery compartment, so 7 altogether. And you'll see that there are a blue, a red and black cable onto the main board just there. You've also got 2 cables that go onto the radio board in the other corner. So you'll see that these are the 2 antenna wires that need to come off. I can't show you those until we get the back case off, really, because they're quite short and you can't really see them until you get it away. So those 2 to come out. Then you've got the 3 that go onto the board there, the blue, red and black. So they go onto there. Good stuff. Right, so that's the back case away now, complete with the power supply, transformer, all that sort of stuff. So we can put that to one side nice and safe. Okay, so we've got a fairly complicated little beastie here, but effectively the radio board is all over on this side. So there's your bandwidth switch and your ferrite rod antenna and the various ICs associated with that. Then we've got the main amp and the cassette part just over on this side here. So what we've basically got to do now is withdraw the entire chassis, and that's the only thing now. So we've got to press eject basically, and then we should be able to carefully withdraw the chassis, but we'll have to undo some cable clips and stuff like that, but we'll find them as we go. You'll see that I've already worked on this one previously, so I'm probably going to have to go ahead and take away all of these little cable clips that I'd put in the first place, but that's fine, we'll figure those out as we go. And the beauty of suspending this over a hole, as it were, is that once you've pressed eject, you should be able, as I say, to withdraw the whole chassis. I say withdraw, as I say, it's still held in by all of the speakers and that kind of thing, but at least now we can see the mech. So just be super careful now, because obviously when you turn it over, last thing you want to do is lean this on the antenna, which is just on the bottom now. You don't want to snap that on the speakers or anything like that. So just going to take a moment now to make all this good, make it safe, and rest the unit nicely on something else just here. So here we can see the deck then. So we've got 1, 2 and 3 screws holding it in. So anyway, before we get this out and turn over to see the other belts, we can see the smaller belt there, and obviously you've got your counter belt running across just here as well. So we'll replace those in a second, but first thing I want to do is clean the head and capstan and the pinch roller and just generally get things kind of moving a little bit. And here we go. Now I did actually give these a token clean anyway before, and they're fine. But we'll do the pinch roller as well. As I said before, this was already supposed to have been done before I bought it, but I went ahead and did a fair bit of this again anyways. And actually that's okay really, to be honest. But what I'm going to do now is put some rubber renew on the idler tyres as well. So we'll give that a bit of a freshen up, see if we can soften the rubber a little bit. I'll just be careful with this rubber renew, it's nasty stuff really. Now obviously this isn't part and parcel of a belt change per se, but whilst we're in here, it's going to be worthwhile just seeing if we can give it a general loosen up. We're replacing all of the belts after all, so may as well do what else we can while we're here. And to this end, all I'm doing is basically just holding the idler tyre where I can get to it and rotating it with the tweezers. You can drop the E-clip out there and remove the tyre, but to be honest, you're more likely to lose the clip in the mechanism or send it across the room, and there's no need to take it off really, not unless you're replacing the tyre itself, which hopefully we don't need to do. But yeah, not too bad, to be honest, not too bad at all. So what I will do now, I think, is take these two belts off anyways. So here's the counter belt, easy as that. And we'll take this smaller one off as well while we're here. As I say, we've got a brand new one anyway, so that's all good. And again, just cleaning up this idler tyre here. Get some rubber renew on that. Thing is, they get perished with time, they get old. There we go. They get shiny, they start to lose their bite, and then obviously the performance goes. And if the tyres can't bite onto their respective pulleys, that's when you lose traction. You might get loss on fast forward, for example, or rewind might be sluggish and things like that. But, anyways, just giving it a general bit of a clean with some alcohol. And then I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of lubrication on the sliding parts as well. The original grease doesn't seem too bad. I keep any lubrication away from the clutches and stuff like that. We don't want everything getting greasy and oily in there. This is literally just the bare minimum, just to help things to get moving, just to help the linkages. And it might seem like I'm putting a lot on there, but it literally is just a breath. And then just a final mop up around the pulleys. And just make sure there's no surface lubrication or anything like that. We just want it between all of the moving parts. So a little bit of alcohol here on an earbud just to clean everything up. Good. Incidentally, you might be able to see the adjustment screw there for the speed. So that's how you adjust the speed on this particular model. If the motor's running a little bit fast or a little bit slow, adjust the voltage via that little screw directly on the motor there. So I'm going to actually try and remove the mech now. It's pretty tricky on this beast, I've got to say. Quite a complicated one this. Normally you've just got the heads, you can probably see the heads just here. So these cables run out to the board, and also you've got the leaf switch contacts as well, which also go to the board. But on here you've also got your program search and everything else, various other cables that are connected, and it's quite a complicated little beast really. And the thing is, you might just be able to see that some of these cables are bunched and tied up just around the side here, and they do need to be out of the way. They're all tucked away really nicely, and that's fine until you want to get the thing out, and you have to kind of feed and unplug the cables from the back of the board and get those get some slack and pull them all through the cable ways and everything else, and it becomes quite a bit of a job. You'll probably see this in a minute. As soon as I start to remove this, you'll probably notice just how difficult it is to get out. Now, couple more screws there that hold the motor base on, and as I say, in theory now everything should come away but straight away we're quite landlocked. I'll try and get some of these cables out. Okay. So we've got, I think, the search sensor wires. We've also got the motor positive and negative cables just there. Look, they are free. So what else do we have? So you can see the second that we start to move anything, we're kind of tied in really. So we're going to have to get these little cable clips away as well. And just try and remember how everything came, because obviously we want to do a tidy job of putting them back together again later. And just be careful not to snip through the cables themselves, of course. Right, see if that gives us anything. Okay, a little. But now we're tied by these cables here that are really tight, and these, I believe, are the leaf switch contacts. And this is where it kind of gets messy on this unit. This is probably the worst part of the job now, is you've got to unplug the leaf switch contacts and basically pull these all through to give yourself enough slack just to be able to get to the back of the unit really. Okay, well, we're missing a belt for a start. No wonder the auto stop didn't work. There's only 2 belts on the back of that. So someone had claimed to have put a new belt on this, and clearly they haven't done the job. No wonder half of it's not working. There's a belt missing, and I'm just wondering whether or not I can indeed actually try and sort this out without getting the whole thing out. As I say, it's really tricky. Sorry, you probably didn't see much there, that was right in the way. But essentially there's cables that have to be unplugged right from the other side of the board and fed through to the cableways, and give yourself enough slack to get to the unit. But then you can't test the unit because it's not plugged in, and you've got to try and fashion ways up to get power into the unit to get it to work. But of course, really, you need all of the multi-plugs plugged in, because if you're testing all of the features, you do need to be able to see kind of what you're doing. So I'm just dithering a little bit here, trying to decide what to do for the best. And I think, if I'm honest right now, see what I mean? You are literally floating about an inch. Literally just floating this about an inch off the top of the actual unit. So it really is a bit of a nightmare. And you're held in every which way through all these cableways. Yeah, it's an absolute pig, to be honest with you. Yeah, you end up, if you're not careful, you'll end up sort of pulling cables off and stuff like that. They really are quite strained. The last thing I want is springs to ping off and things as well. So, question is, can I do this upside down and back to front and one-handed? Or do we indeed have to actually go to the trouble of feeding everything off from the back and feeding it through? Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, I finally managed to get enough slack on some of these cables, just about to turn it over, but it's pretty precarious. You've got to watch you don't snap the counter reset button off there, and I've propped the whole thing back up on some foam here just to make it safe and stable to work on. And as I say, there's a belt that's supposed to go between these 2 pulleys here, and somebody's obviously neglected to do that. I'm cheating a little bit here, basically to get the main belt off, which probably actually isn't that bad if I'm honest. But I'm cheating a little bit here, because if I'm honest, the main belt is probably okay, but given the fact I've got to get the whole thing apart anyway, and we've got a whole set here after all to put on, so it seems silly not to put the whole set on while we're here. So what I'm basically just going to do here is soak away this set washer here It's got a bit of paint or lacquer over it just to lock it in place, and that sets the float on the flywheel. And so just by leaving a bit of acetone in there, we should be able to soak that up, and hopefully we'll be able to break that free. There we go. Just back that out enough. Marvellous. And what that'll allow us to do, you see, is to actually bring the belt through. That's it. Just get it flat and it'll actually come out. So there's the belt itself. Yeah, so all a bit of a nuisance really. And obviously here's the one that runs on the bottom part. And I've got to say, the belt feels okay. It feels supple. Not bad at all, to be honest. So I don't know if maybe somebody did put some belts on there but didn't realise there was one missing. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a drop of oil onto the bottom of the motor spindle whilst I'm here. Clean the pulleys, put a bit of lubrication on the auto stop cams and that sort of thing, just to make sure they are doing what they need to do, especially given that they've not been used for such a long time. They might be a bit stuck. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just do that, and I'll be back in a moment. Right, well, I've got 5 belts looking at me here. So I think the first one to go on actually is sort of like a medium size one. Now this one can be tricky. It can be tricky because it has to go around the pulley at the bottom. It's hard to actually get it . There you go. That one can be quite tricky because the pulley is actually very small underneath this top part, and it has a tendency to want to actually go onto the spindle rather than the pulley itself. So you just got to make sure it's lined up properly. Okay, the next one then is likely to be this one. And we just drop that onto the spindle for the motor. And there we go. Good, 2 for 2. Now we're going to sneak the main drive belt through. Good, so all 3 belts are on this face now, which is great news. And I'm just going to lock the thrust bearing, as it were, back into place. That feels pretty good. There we go, and it looks like the auto stop bar is turning as well. Marvellous. Okay, good. So we'll turn it back over. We will put a little bit of varnish or something on that just to lock that in a bit later once we're happy. But for now, we've got 2 more belts to sort out. There's one, and finally the counter belt. And again, just make sure it's in the appropriate channel. And just check that they're not twisted as well. Good. Right, well that's the belts on. The idler tyres are cleaned, the mechanism is lubed, the heads are clean, the capstan and the pinch roller are cleaned. So I'm inclined actually to drop this sort of into place for a minute. Maybe hook up an auxiliary power supply and see if we can get this thing started. Okay, well it's the moment of truth a little bit then, isn't it? So let's just see what we've got here. I think that was play. Okay, well it's working. Fast forward. Yep, the counter's going, so that's working. Rewind. Hang on. Okay, so, oh yeah, of course the counter won't rewind because obviously it's not connected. I haven't put my tape in yet, have I? I don't know. Right, okay. Press play then with this. Okay, it's going to sound a bit odd because the speakers, we're not very high powered at the moment. The speakers are literally facing the floor, so well they're on the table, so that's obviously not good for them particularly. So I've only got it on low volume. It will sound a bit muffled, but the point being, it does seem to work. Okay, so what about fast forward? Now it's working fine. Just watching the counter going around at the moment. Rewind. That seems nice and strong as well. I wonder what happens when it gets to the end of the tape. That's the next question. I wonder if the auto stop's going to work or not. Result. Perfect. Good. So by changing all 4 belts, and 5 belts I should say, and lubricating everything and giving it a good clean, it appears as though we may well have sorted it out. We're at the beginning of the tape there now, so if I just whoops daisy, rewind it to there, press play, which was that one, and I'm just waiting to see what happens. So we've got to the leader tape now, and it's just coming to the end of the leader tape, and it's stopping now. Auto stops working perfectly. Beautiful. Good stuff. Well, that's a proper result. So here it is then, Hitachi TRK-8190E, all done now and put back together. There were a few other issues with this particular unit as well, which I'll spare you now. Suffice it to say that once you've taken it apart and reassembled it half a dozen times, it gets significantly quicker and easier. But anyway, it's all done now, so let's just press play and see what's going on with it. Good stuff. Fast forward. Yep, rewind. Lovely. Good stuff. There we go then. So it's all working, and I think it'll come back on again now. That's it. Marvellous. Gotta love those old mixtapes, hey? Right, so eject, lovely and smooth. And I've got a tape here actually that's almost at the end, so we can try the auto stop as well. So if I just press play now, and it's just coming to the end of the tape. That's run out now, so we're on the leader tape, and hopefully it'll get to the end and cut out. There she is. Good stuff. So all sorted. 5 new belts, a general degrease, a relube, a bit of a clean the idler tyres, the pinch roller, the capstan, the heads, just giving it a general sort of clean and a lube and a sort out really. That's all it needed. So there we go, the Hitachi TRK-8190E. If you're looking at changing the belts, that's how you do it. And if you're more interested in other boomboxes or Walkmans, that sort of thing, please do consider subscribing and hit the notifications bell for updates. We've got loads of stuff coming up. So thanks again for watching. I shall see you soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.